Okej är det. Hey, hello, and welcome, and congratulations, Final Smile for first, and thank you for the resub. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And hello, Inu. There is a reason for this. Pretty smart, actually. The reason to the 3-minute ad in the beginning that I always cue is because I'm not fucking here anyway. So you're not missing anything. You're watching the ad now so that it can be off pre-rolls for an hour. That's why I have to cue it now. Because it's the smartest when I'm not here. Because then you get less ads while I am here. That's the plan. That's how they told me that it works. So the rest aren't as long and annoying. That's why. I know, I'm so evil, I'm so mean. How could I ever do that deliberately? I guess you just have to leave and cry by yourself. Anyway, more soldiers live today. Exciting. Might be the second last stream until we do a break. We will see. It all depends on how next week turns out. If I have too much to do before I leave or not. Maybe I can pinch one stream. We will see. We'll take it as it goes. But today and tomorrow, it's scheduled. Okay. Everything is where it should be. I think, yeah. Okay, then let's take off to the recap. Last time on A Soldier's Life, a new safe room has been found. The room has a staircase that leads up to a new level of the dungeon and an ice room. There, Eric almost dies while fighting a frost-breathing salamander, but luckily Maviet is there to save him. Eric gives in to Maviet's pleas about getting help, so they let Raylia out, and she freaks. Eventually, she seems to realize that to get out of this dungeon alive, she has to work together with Eric and Maviet. For now. Hello, Wakiek. Welcome. That sounds amazing. Then you can almost be live. Oh. At least I feel like it's fair that I've told everyone that it's like, I will have a break. So, everyone that's live anyway, because you know that those are kind of only the people that I really care about, right? Then I feel like you've had your decision if you want to to pause and you can binge them when I'm gone, or if you're up to speed and have to wait. That's up to you now. That's up to everyone. Not my problem. I've said it every time. But okay, here we go. Today's chapter, starting with chapter 161, Knowing the Elf. You've never been ice skating? It's not as easy as it looks. But it's also easier than it looks. We had to do it at school when I was younger. When did we do it first? Maybe we were 9? Maybe? I think we've done it at least 3 times. Like, oh, between 9 years old and 15 years old ish. It has been a fucking while since I did it. I also did what is it called? Rollerblades, roller skates, roller thingies when I was younger as well. It should be fine. I mean, it will be Bambi first, you know, but then it's cool. It's not the same as riding a bike though. I must say that it is quite different, but yeah, decently coordinated does help. Wear a helmet and some safety gear and you'll be fine. Forgot my Coke. Chapter 161, Knowing the Elf. We walked about 50 feet into the corridor in silence to explore the next room. Raylia walked in front of me and broke the silence. Can I have my ring back? I hesitated before asking. What does it do? It kills you instantly. The elf woman paused before replying. It is a ring of sustenance. It allows the wearer to require less food and less sleep. Maybe it echoed my thoughts. That would have been useful to have when we were in the library, Eric. How much less food and sleep? I asked, pulling the ring into my hand. The silver ring didn't look too special. It was just a thick silver band. When I was wearing it, I could get a full night's rest in about 2 hours. I still needed to drink normally, but I only needed one small meal daily to feel full. She sounded truthful, but I could never be certain. Yeah, I was like, immediately he takes it to his hand, like, do you believe her? Immediately, like, yeah, she's speaking the truth. This is a sustenance ring. Why would I return it to you if it's so useful? I asked doubtfully, turning it over in my hand. How about I trade you the ring for the ranger's cloak? She suggested cautiously. I considered the offer. Technically, both artifacts were mine. Being cynical, I thought maybe she wanted the cloak to help her escape. Maybe it added to the conversation. I made Eric a beautiful cloak from a bull manticore's leather wing. I took the hint from the Goliath. He wanted me to make the exchange to build trust, and to affirm that I would treasure his cloak. How does the ring work? I asked, intrigued. Ralia turned her head. Seeing I was holding the ring, she said, You put it on and channel ether into it. It takes about a week to attune to a new wearer. Over the week, you will need less and less sleep and feel the need to eat less. Good morning, Loco. Hello, welcome, and high tech. I will drink. Welcome in to the reading of today. I would have said welcome into the warmth, but it is cold as freezing fuck. So that's not true. Kinda wish it was colder. Oh, I'm not. I'm not. With 2 glass windows instead of 3, I'm fucking... I'm dying. I hate this. And then I'm going to Sweden. Yay! But at least we have 3 windows. So, I mean 3 glass. So that will help. Then it won't feel like I'm outside when I'm inside. The ring would only fit on my pinky finger. As I was about to put it on, she laughed. Never worn a dungeon ring before? I did not appreciate the mirth in her tone or how she looked down on my ignorance. I controlled a scathing retort and asked calmly, No, how do you wear a ring? The Griffin Rider stopped laughing. Just slide it on the finger you want. Trickle ether into it. It may take a while to reform, but it will. Only dungeon created rings will resize. Well, then maybe it can have the fucking cloak. She was right. The ring slid slowly onto my ring finger. I just hoped this ring was not cursed, but I was less worried since I had maybe take it from her while it was still in her hand. Do you know how to figure out what a ring can do? Okay. What was my thought? Yeah, right. What's wrong with having a ring on his pinky finger? Why does it have to have it on his ring finger? Like, is it that so weird? She's like, haha, stupid. Okay. Mavieth, on a quest to win her trust, informed her. We found a ring in a dungeon chest. I was not upset with him pandering to the elf or revealing what we found. I was having some trouble believing she was sincere and not just acting while waiting for opportunity. Relia considered the question before speaking. There are 3 ways that I know. One is a revelation scroll. Adventurers guild halls have them. The other is finding a mage who can cast a divination spell. The last is by heating it up and using a magnifying glass to study the intricate runes on the ring that reveal themselves in the heat of a fire. But you need someone skilled in reading the runic markings of dungeons. I nodded, remembering that Castile had said something similar, and I thought I had a way to cheat. We approached the end of the hallway, and Relia was walking next to Mavieth. They stopped at the entrance, and I halted behind them. Not a safe room, I said, disappointed as I took in the next room. It was another large chamber. Boulders and small trees dotted the expensive space. A small body of water cut through the room like a wide stream, flowing slowly, as indicated by the visible ripples. Okay, dungeon expert, what are we facing? I asked Relia. Relia leaned forward to take in the room. This is a large room, bigger than anything I've ever seen in a dungeon. She continued, a little more uncertainty in her voice. Usually, you know what to expect in a room based on others who came before you. I asked another question. What about the room reset times? Always a day based on the sun, sometimes longer if the dungeon is low on ether from the ley lines feeding it. Usually, a member of the dungeon team carries an hourglass, she said, looking back at me dubiously. You cannot repeatedly delve into a dungeon, or you will exhaust it, she replied. I thought she was leaning too far in, so I grabbed her shoulder to stop her and pull her back. She tensed and spun quickly to face me, her large blue-green eyes fierce. I was ready with an air shield, but she did not attack. I explained. I thought you were getting too close to the entrance of the room. I did not want you trapped inside. Fucking amateur. Have you ever been trapped inside a dungeon room before, Relia, huh? She huffed and exhaled as she relaxed. Only the final room or last room on the floor will do that, she said, rubbing her shoulder. I had unintentionally grabbed the shoulder Mavieth had bandaged. Oh. I debated whether to apologize or not. I forgot your shoulder was injured, or I wouldn't have grabbed it so hard, I said, with as much sincerity as I could muster. My eyes were locked in hers as she determined whether I was being genuine. Maybe it drew our attention to the room. I see some movement. I think it is a gnoll. We both focused on the far side of the room, and Relia confirmed. It is a gnoll. I can see 3, but there are probably more. The bipedal hyena beasts were supposedly fast and huge nuisances to the Empire. I recalled something. Don't elves and gnolls have an enmity? Are we going to need to restrain you from rushing in? Relia tersely noted. I have no love for gnolls, but wood elves attack gnolls on sight. I am a high elf. Wow. She finished tersely as if that explained everything. Bitch, please. High elf indeed. You see yourself as above all others then? I retorted sharply in a poor attempt to tease the elf. That is not. She started to reply tersely, but changed her mind, seeing I was goading her. Just above some. Her eyes narrowed on me. One of the gnolls finally spotted us and ran at us on all fours before standing before the passage. It was nude and definitely a male as it sniffed the air. Because only males sniff the air. That's what he meant, right? It then cackled loudly, drawing the attention of the others. A hive of activity ensued, and 7 other gnolls raced across the tavern, all naked and all males. They soon cackled as a group, which was abrasive to my ears, especially with their proximity. We backed away from the entrance to escape the hideous cacophony they made. The Griffin Rider spoke first. They are feral gnolls. I did not see any armor or weapons. They will attack with claws and bites. Oh really, thank God. What is the difference between feral and regular gnolls? I asked, thinking they were like feral dogs compared to domesticated ones. Relia eyed me. Gnolls are intelligent and form small nomadic tribes in the forest. They have a society, in a manner of speaking. Those, she pointed back at the room, are just beasts. I do not think they will be coordinated when they fight. I looked at Mavieth. Numbers were the worst thing for us to encounter, as I could only kill one of the creatures instantly. This was why we had recruited the elf woman. Mavieth thought for a moment. I can take 3, I think. I could have 2 if I had my weapons, Relia offered. I ignored her for a moment to think. 8 opponents were a lot, and they were all man-sized and fast. The terrain was not favorable either, allowing them to surround us. I turned to Relia. What about your fireball? Do you have any other spells? Relia's face twisted slightly as she probably remembered I had used her own fireball against her at the aqueduct. You cannot charge a spell outside of a dungeon room. The ether in the spell form will break apart as you pass the entrance. I can cast a decent fireball if given time after entering the room. What about your other spells? I pressed. She was being cagey and did not answer. I pulled out the assessment table. Use it, I commanded. Wow. She had defiance in her eyes, but moved to the tablet reader and placed her small hands on it. I scanned her attributes quickly, but was more focused on her magical affinities. Okay, here we go. Relia, reading time. Strength, not impressive. Power, decent. Quickness, good. Dexterity, also decent. Endurance, also good. Constitution, fine. Coordination, also pretty good. Intellect, very high. Reasoning, also good. Perception, good. Insight, low. Resilience, okay. Empathy, high. Fortitude, also high. Etherpool, 27 out of 35. Channeling, 31 out of 33, almost fucking full. Ether shaping is also high as fuck. Ether tolerance as well. Ether resistance a little bit lower, and prime affinity fire. Oh. I felt slightly jealous of her ether shaping and dexterity, which gave her the ability to cast actual spells. I scanned over to her affinities. Nothing impressive. Elemental magics, common. Fire, 39. Air, 27. Oh, she has high air as well. Water, 5. Earth, 4. Lightning, spirit, and nature, 0. Unaffiliated magics, uncommon. She has none. None at all. And no rare magics. It's literally only fire. Fire and air. That's it. Okay. What are your spell forms for fire and air? And do you have any other spells? I asked again. Relia reluctantly spoke. For fire, I have thermostatus. It is cold in the skies and keeps the air around my body comfortable. My air spell form eliminates wind shear when I am riding. She stopped talking, and I remembered we had killed her griffin. Right, rip. And spells? I asked for a third time. The elf woman finally conceded to tell me. Fireball, gust of wind, control flame. What does control flame do? I questioned her. Guess. With some pride, she said. I can influence magical and non-magical fire. It is not immensely powerful, but it helps me enhance and direct my fireball. I put the tablet reader away as Mavis was trying to decipher the elf's numbers. We did not have time for this right now. Okay, this is the plan. We will wait until the gnolls return to the room's other side. Mavis and Relia will enter first. Relia will fireball the tightest group she can get, and then we will engage the leftovers. I need a weapon, Relia reminded me brusquely. Mavis arched an eyebrow at me. I think he was becoming amused by our interactions. He was also curious about what I was going to do. I produced a long dagger that belonged to her non-magical blade. I handed it to her, and I think she realized she was not getting her runic legacy weapon back. Stay out of the fighting after the fireball. Maviath and I will clean them up. She sheathed the blade on her belt, still possessing the scabbard. It took the gnolls almost an hour before they wandered from the entrance. We moved into the room together, and Relia created her fireball. The tight ball emitted a heat I could feel even standing behind her, as she added increasingly more ether to grow its power. Only 3 savage gnolls charged us in a lead group, and Relia released her searing ball at them. It exploded in a flash among the 3 gnolls. A dry wave of heat reached us from 40 feet away, and the 3 clustered gnolls were blown away like ragdolls. Maybe it thundered forward, and the other 5 gnolls only paused for a breath as the heat wave hit them. I sprinted ahead with Maviath, a little reluctant to have the elf at my back. Take the one at the far right, Maviath, I yelled. I did not want either of us to get flanked, so I targeted the one farthest to the left. My black blade flashed out, removing the paw of my target, and as it went into shock, I rotated and pivoted it into an arching swing to take the stunned gnoll in the back. My blade bit deep, severing the spine above the hips. I extracted my blade as the gnoll collapsed and faced the next one, blocking a claw attack with my battered shield. Using my superior reach, I stabbed the unprotected chest of the gnoll, piercing its heart as its jaws tried to snap over my shield, a spray of saliva hitting my exposed face. I twisted the blade, destroying its heart, then extracted it and turned to take in the scene. Maviath had both his gnolls handled, one with a crushed skull and the other with a crushed chest. The 8 gnolls were sprinting at Aurelia, who had a defensive stance, ready to receive the charge. It was just within range of my dimensional space. I removed its head, and it collapsed in front of the stunned elf, its heart pumping spurts of blood at her from the stump. I appreciated seeing her stunned look as her eyes went from the headless gnoll to me and back numerous times. What is your avatar's canonical eye color? Green, I think we made it. Whenever I made some avatars, so I guess green. Why not? It's canon now, green. Hello, Fox. I love this, by the way. Hell yeah, I love this as well. I moved to end the paralyzed and burned gnolls, which sounded like wounded dogs, and Maviath joined me. Soon, all 8 gnolls were dead, and the reward chest appeared by the stream. I cleaned my blade on some leaves as Relia was still staring at the headless gnoll in front of her. I think she was piecing together that I could have killed her just as easily the first time we met. Or the second time. True that. And right now, actually. Eric is scary. Chapter 162. Party Dynamics. Well, Eric is the leader, Maviath is the kind man, and there's an elf. While Aurelia was still focused on the headless gnoll, I went and cracked open the chest. Or we can also say that we have a... Wait, what is Eric? Well... Damn it, we have a DPS, we have a tank, and we have a mage. Like, yeah. Over 30 large pieces of silver spilled out, and buried underneath the coins was a heavy silver chain adorned with a large sapphire. It was an ornate piece of jewelry, etched with images of birds and fairies along the chain, with 2 fairies holding the gem. Cute. The azure gem was shaped like a flattened egg, and its cut made it appear as though flowing water was trapped inside when light shone through it. It was clearly evident that it was an artifact. Nah, just your everyday jewelry. I scooped up all the coins in the necklace, placing them in the manticore pouch Maviath had made for me, while I waited for enough of my ether to recover to bring out the collector. Maviath was dragging the bodies of the gnolls away from the water source. I searched the chamber, noting that the stream running through it was the most interesting feature. It emerged from one wall and exited through a small whirlpool at the other end. There were no fish, which was disappointing, since I had hoped to harvest another assortment of essences. The bushes showed no signs of fruit either. Confused, I yelled across the room at Maviath. What do you think the gnolls were eating? Every room had contained something the dangerous monsters could survive on. Themselves. Maviath walked around a bit and replied. Rats or large moles. There were some small bone fragments in the scat over here. He was stirring it with a stick. Relia had recovered her wits. Dungeons do that to minimize the ether required to maintain the creatures populating their rooms. There should be something in here for the rats to eat as well, probably one of the plants. We continued searching, finding a few holes in the soil. Maviath uprooted one of the bushes, revealing large, dark, bulbous tubers hanging off the roots. Is that a potato? I asked, suddenly excited. Maviath washed one off in the stem and cut it in half. The dark purple exterior revealed the brilliant purple flesh streaked with white. Maviath looked confused. I've never seen a purple potato before. Maybe it's poisonous. Relia walked over, took it from the Goliath and sniffed it. This is a... Vitalote potato. They are a delicacy with a nutty taste. You boil them, mash them with brown butter, form them into small discs, and fry them in oil or fat. Did the elf just describe tater tots? Mavis showed interest and looked at the bushes. Eric, how many potatoes can you store? I pointed at Relia, indicating her size. I just freed up some space. About that much volume. Relia did not appreciate my joke and gave me a hard stare. I think it was funny. I took out the collector and approached the line of knolls that Mavis had piled together. The elf followed. Oh, sorry. The elf followed, intrigued by the collector. Kneeling over the first corpse, I placed the collector down and, without looking at her, asked, Never seen a collector in action before? Of course I have, she replied, offended at my remark. They are just rare to see outside the Adventurers Guild, since they are extremely rare to find in dungeons and how to artifice them has been lost. I thought the Italian artificers made them, I said as the blue smoke was pulled from the body, forming a dark yellow major essence of dexterity. Relia inhaled deeply in shock at the density of the smoke. None that are currently alive, she said tersely. She gawked at the essence. A major essence from just a knoll, she whispered. I sounded a little smug, knowing something she did not. The dungeon has not been disturbed for centuries. Creatures here are most likely to yield essences, and larger ones at that. She watched in disbelief as every knoll yielded the same dark yellow essence of dexterity. I placed each one in the bag as I went. After I finished with the last one, I tossed it to her, and she nimbly caught it. Only one of the gnolls was killed by the fireball. Wait, what did he toss? Not the collector. An essence, right? She quickly pieced together what I meant. Angrily, she spat. What? How is that fair? You told me not to help after the fireball, and the two others caught in the blast could not even move when you executed them. Was I teasing her too much? You're complaining? I asked seriously. I could see Mavis walking over quickly to intervene after the Griffin Rider yelled at me. The elf stormed away like a petulant child. I don't understand what happened. Maybe his hands were dirty from harvesting the potatoes, and his deep voice rumbled in concern. We need her help, Eric. She was extremely helpful in the fight, taking 3 gnolls out of action before it started. Sorry, Mavieth, I shouldn't tease her like that. I took 2 of the spheres from the manticore pouch and handed them to Mavieth. You can give these to her. Tell her you convinced me she deserved them. You must have been in essence then. I told you the pouch would be useful, Mavieth said, grinning. Was Mavieth making a joke about the pouch holding the spheres? Yes, it is very nice. I'm still a little squeamish when I think about what it used to hold, I said to my friend. Mavieth studied the black pouch, but did not seem to understand my discomfort. Mavieth approached Relia, who was trying to clean herself near the stream's drain. He gave her the 2 essences. She looked at me for a second before turning her back to me. I consumed one of the dark yellow essences, feeling a tingly sensation spread, focusing on my fingers and toes before dissipating. The toes and fingers dissipated. Dexterity should improve my fine motor control. I started helping Mavieth harvest the potatoes. When he uprooted a large mow from one of the plants, I yelled at him to catch it, but it quickly burrowed into the soft soil. So there were moles, not rats. With my ether recovered, I sent the pouch to my space and retrieved the small mirror from my barber's bag. I walked over to Relia, and she looked up at me, curious. At the moment, she had no anger in her eyes after Mavieth had given her the 2 essences. I offered her the mirror, and she was shocked and embarrassed by her appearance. She immediately began scrubbing her face. I left her, amused that she was concerned about looking good in a dungeon. Who did she need to impress? Mavieth and I had a huge sack of dark purple potatoes on the tarp. Relia, now looking much better after cleaning up, offered to wash them in the stream. Great, Relia. I'm going to clean up myself on the other side of the chamber. I crossed the room, planning to bathe out of her sight. Mavieth, you should bathe too. We don't get many opportunities in here. Mavieth nodded and joined me. As we stripped, I took the opportunity to hand Mavieth 2 of the lesser healing potions Relia had. 2 lesser healing potions, Mavieth, in case you need them during a fight. Let me know when you need more essences as well. Mavieth's deep voice was filled with gratitude. Thank you, Eric. I have been taking 1 essence every day like you told me to. I think they are working. I feel faster already. It's like medicine. It's like, have you taken your meds? It's like, yes, I take one every day and I feel much better. I arched my left eyebrow at him because I knew that even if he had taken all 38 lesser essences, he might have only raised his quickness attribute by 1 point. It would not have affected his quickness potential at all. He was fortifying the attribute, and training it would be easier, making it less likely to decrease over time. It was strange how filthy you could get inside a dungeon in just a few days. The stream had a sandy bottom and was only knee-deep but cool and refreshing. I had no soap left, so I used an abrasive wool sock as a washcloth and gave the other to Mavieth. You can keep that sock, I told the Goliath after watching him use it to wash every body part. Are you sure? Mavieth asked. He looked up and muttered, I think Aurelia is spying on us. I turned and saw a brief flash of movement 60 feet away. Maybe she was planning to roast us with a fireball while we bathed, I chuckled. But suddenly, unpleasant images of being burned like the gnolls filled my mind. Maybe its face crunched. You should not antagonize her so much. We need her, and I like her. Looking at Mavieth, I could not see the nearly 8-foot Goliath being intimate with the elf, who barely stood over 5 feet tall. Maybe he didn't need it. Okay. I erased all thoughts of it. I'm just testing her, Mavieth. We need to find out if she can control herself, and if she's likely to turn on us. Things were quiet for a while, and Mavieth laid out to dry on a boulder while I floated in the water. Soaking in the cool water felt amazing. I am done, Relia yelled from the other side a few minutes later. How much time do we have left, Mavieth? I asked the Goliath, who was putting on the damp clothes to join Relia. Mavieth considered. We have been in this room for less than 8 hours. Okay. I moved to the shore and pulled out several items for Mavieth to cook with. I'm going to enjoy the water for a bit, but you two can start a meal. Mavieth nodded and looked at everything, considering. If we're going to fry the potatoes, I need some fattier bear meat. I searched my space and added some belly meat to the mix. Mavieth nodded and took everything across the room. I soon heard the two of them talking softly on the other side of the chamber. I dozed off in the water, even though I had not meant to. Eric, the food is ready. Mavieth's deep voice called above me. He whispered. She tried really hard to cook. Say you like it. What? I asked, leaving the water. Are you sure she didn't poison it? Mavieth's face scrunched in displeasure. She's eating the food as well. It is just a bit salty, Mavieth confided. I dressed and sent my armor to my space for now. We had time before our next encounter. The freedom of movement was welcome. They had set up a nice little camp, and Relia had stacked the cleaned potatoes neatly. The dark purple made it look more like a pile of rocks. I just hoped they tasted better than rocks. Dinner consisted of grilled bear meat and purple hamburger-sized potato patties. Relia looked expectantly at me as I took 2 patties and sandwiched some meat between them. The meal had a good crunch to it, and it was flavorful, but as Mavieth had warned, it was quite salty. I summoned a canteen and took a long pull of water. I was honest with her. Fucking, dude. Once again, Eric, he is German. The texture and flavor are good, just a little too much salt for my delicate palate. Oh, that was nice for a German. I take it back. She reddened, and Mavieth shot me an unhappy look. Relia softly said, I thought the salt was flour by mistake. Oh my god. An honest mistake, I consoled her, rather than teasing her further. I would not say my own cooking skills were spectacular. I needed the entire canteen to wash the meal down. Yeah, if she... oh my. Whether my new sustenance ring was working or my body simply did not need a second portion, I opted for a raw apple to cleanse my mouth instead. Mavieth started cleaning the pots in the nearby stream, leaving Relia and me facing each other. I decided to put her mind at ease. If we encounter anyone from the mage company, I'll put you back in my dimensional space. Panic flashed across her face, and she tensed, looking like a frightened rabbit ready to bolt. Is it that bad in there? I asked, genuinely concerned. Relia paused, slowly calming down. I do not remember. No time passed for me. However, I was unconscious a second time. There was a brief silence while Mavieth clicked the pots he was cleaning in the background. It's the only way out for you. I promise to release you when it's safe outside. My word is good. I could see the doubt in her eyes. And on the right side, if someone kills me, everything in my dimensional space will be tossed out, freeing you anyway. Really? I do not know how space magic works. It is an extremely rare gift. Did you use space or void magic to remove the Knoll's head? I sensed she was trying to dig for information. She was not particularly good at it, or maybe her accented Latin revealed her interest. I don't know any void magic. I produced the head of the Knoll at her feet, hiding a grin, and got the reaction I wanted as she jumped up. I'm not gonna tease her anymore. Okay, Eric. It was a bit childish, but it proved to Aurelia that I had not used void magic to kill the Knoll. The Knoll blinked, its face sneering, unaware it did not have a body. But with just a few heartbeats, it stilled. Aurelia cursed me. Why would you do that without warning? Mavieth looked disappointed as well. Why is Mavieth the dad? He's like, can you please get along? How was I the bad guy here? Aurelia stared morbidly at the head, fascinated. Contemplation glittered on her elven features. My guess was that she thought she could be next. I broke the awkwardness brought on by my own doing. Let's check out the next room. I sent all the potatoes to storage, and Aurelia's eyes bulged as they disappeared. If the ring of sustenance worked as advertised, this could mean years of potential food stores for me. I equipped my armor again, and soon the three of us were walking down the only other exit from the room. It took a few minutes before we reached a familiar-looking room with tall, elevated stone shelves and a small fountain in the center. It was almost identical to the last safe room we had found. I had everyone wait 5 minutes before entering first. Aurelia went straight to the faded elven writing on the wall. This is good, I said, looking around. We can spend a day here getting some sleep without worrying about getting attacked. Aurelia turned to me. It is an old script, but I had no difficulty reading it. I was going to tell her I could read it too, but I let it slide, as my elven reading level was probably that of a 6-year-old. It says the next room contains gnolls, followed by face spiders, and then a blizzard lizard room. It does not say a blizzard lizard. It does not. It also mentions that the stairs to the 3rd level are 2 chambers beyond. I looked up, confused. Wait, it says it's called the blizzard lizard? No, but I thought that is what we were calling it, she said, a humorous smirk on her face. Mavieth nodded, confirming the name. Now I like Aurelia as well. Damn. I love that. Eric. Oh. The same is like, what did it actually say? Blizzard lizard. That would have been fucking crazy. Okay, fine. Can I use the thermal stone to heat the magical rings enough for the spell forms to show up? I asked the Griffin Rider. She thought about it. I think so, but even if not, it will not damage the ring. What about these? I pulled out the silver ring from the Frost Elementer's chest, along with the gold ring I found by the ruined wagons, the large pink stone ring, and the large sapphire necklace. Relia's eyes widened, and her jaw dropped as I casually laid them out. She might have recognized one of the artifacts. She looked from me to the items repeatedly, disbelief etched on her face. I calmly asked, do you know what any of these things are? I feel like maybe it's gonna say, you know, this would have been kind of nice in the library. Maybe they would have, maybe. What the fuck? Okay. Chapter 163. Gnolls, bunnies, and bears. Oh my. What the fuck? Relia tentatively picked up the large sapphire necklace. No, I do not know what any of these items do, but they are all clearly artifacts. She turned the necklace in her hand, studying the fairies and birds on the chain, shaking her head in disbelief. This jewel is perfect. It must be worth. She did not voice her opinion and instead put it down to pick up the large pink stone ring. She examined the ring's artwork, muttering, "It is beautiful." She stepped back, clearly tempted. "Do you have any other artifacts?" I raised an eyebrow, signaling that I was not going to share my secrets. "No, we've just picked these up in the rooms we have cleared." I picked up the sapphire necklace and the pink stone ring. From my experience, dungeons do not work that way, even old ones. Maybe 1 in 5 rooms will have an artifact, and 1 in 3 creatures wield an essence. Her tone was accusatory, as if I were hiding something from her. "Every gnoll gave you a major essence," she stated flatly. I have already explained that the dungeon had not been delved into for centuries, and I was not going to tell her that my collector was special. I shrugged, ignoring her plea for an explanation. If you don't know what they do, I'll put them away. Both items vanished, leaving just the rings. Relia looked longingly at my empty hands. I guess all women, regardless of their race, like jewelry. Can you get the thermal stone? I had let her carry it in her backpack. I placed both rings on the stone and channeled the ether into it. As the stone glowed red, tiny symbols formed on the inside of the rings. I had no chance of reading them, but I hoped my trick would work. I focused on one ring at a time, turning the stone with a knife 360 degrees while I concentrated. Seeing me work, Relia exclaimed in astonishment. You can see that and understand the runes. Okay. She distracted me and I turned the stone again. Studying each ring before answering me. What? Wait, I'm so confused here. Seeing me work, Relia exclaimed in astonishment. You can see that and understand the runes. Yeah? Yes? She distracted me and I turned the stone again, studying each ring before answering her. No, I was just looking. I knocked the rings off the stone to cool. Relia immediately picked both of them up before I could stop her. She said haughtily, Enchanted rings do not get hot in fire. They're extremely difficult to destroy. You would need to toss them into a volcano at a ley line nexus to melt them down, or perhaps have an ancient dragon melt them with its fire breath. She was too smug with her knowledge. I held out my hand as she huffed, dropping the rings into it. Mavieth, can you keep an eye on me while I sleep for a bit? I asked the Goliath, who was setting up his bed. Relia scoffed. We are in a safe room. Nothing can attack you in here. Yeah, you can. Her voice trailed off at the end, realizing I wanted to be protected from her. Mavieth moderated. I understand, Eric. We will work on preparing a meal for you when you wake. I then brought out all the ingredients he wanted, and he set up with Relia on the far side of the room. I produced a weasel pelt and my griffin down pillow to get comfortable. I lay down with the dreamscape amulet hidden from Relia's sight. I want to know what they talk about. Entering the dreamscape, I spent a good amount of time playing a game of therapeutic fetch with Oscar. I had to ignore Constantine and the others as I focused on creating the rings. 1 silver and 1 gold. I started with the silver ring from the frost salamander, enlarging it to 10 feet across so I could stand in the middle of it. It did not even need to be heated for the spell forms to pop up in the glowing blue script. I could not believe it had actually worked. Yeah, that's actually insane. My subconscious had been able to read the details in the real world and replicate them here. That's crazy. The Dreamscape amulet was much more powerful than I had originally thought. I had gotten the idea since it seemed to recreate books from Earth in perfect detail, which I had read a long time ago. Now the challenge was figuring out what the rings did based on the books Castile left behind. 3 hours later, I was still working on the silver ring. As best as I could decipher from one of the spell forms that matched in the ring with Castile's books, the ring granted the wearer resistance to cold. How much resistance I could not determine. Perhaps the ring was a reward for defeating the blizzard lizard. So you would be immune to its cold breath the next time you fought it. This would be useful, especially if we had to leave the dungeon and traverse the ruins in the snow. Should we risk trying to obtain another one? Nah. I repeated the process with the gold ring next. I found this ring near the abandoned merchant wagons when we took the old trade road after heavy rains had washed the barge transport away. The runes here were much more complex. After hours of studying and comparing, the best I could figure out was that the ring allowed the wearer to influence another person's disposition positively. How powerful it was, I did not know. It made sense that a trader would wear such a ring. I exited the dreamscape and was welcomed by the smell of roasted meat. I had gotten lost in my work and had not tracked how long I had slept. Mavieth, how long was I asleep? Mavieth looked over, and I could see the two had been playing checkers. 6 hours, maybe a little more. Relia huffed and announced loudly, Mavieth, can you watch me while I sleep and make sure I am not molested? Molested. She went into the stone alcove across from mine to get some sleep. I ignored the upset elf and went to get some food. It was a beef stew with potatoes, onions, and bear meat. It was really good, but after a large bowl, I found myself full. Relia lay on her side with her back to us, and I assumed she was sleeping. Maybe this ring will keep you warm in the cold. Relia twitched, and I assumed she was not actually sleeping. See if it will resize to your finger. Maevia took the ring and was amazed. It is working! The ring is getting larger! Relia pretended to stretch and roll over, but her eyes appeared to be closed. My god, dude, bitch. It took Maevia nearly 10 minutes to slide the ring onto his finger. It thinned out a little, conserving mass, but eventually he said, I can feel it working. The air around me feels slightly warmer. After being trapped in the freezing city for so long, I had not noticed, but the dungeon corridors and rooms were on the cooler side. Relia's eyes opened slowly, and with a hint of accusation in her voice, she spoke. I thought you said you could not read the spell forms of the ring. Yeah, and I thought you were fucking sleeping. And I thought you were sleeping. My dude, maybe Eric is my spirit animal. We stared at each other for a moment before the elf rolled over, putting her back to us again, and tried to sleep. I mean, I don't like kids that much either. Maybe I'm going to scout the next room. Will you be safe waiting here with the elf? I asked half seriously. The elf pulled her bedroll tight around herself, but did not respond to my jest. Maybe it was fingering the silver ring and looked up at me, then at the elf. I think I will be fine. Can I have the rest of the stew? I nodded, and he eagerly grabbed the pot to finish it off. I walked down the corridor cautiously and arrived at a T intersection. I went right, and the corridor curved for a good long while. Finally, I arrived at another room. It was not large, maybe 60 feet across. A hilly range of dark grey and black stone made up the floor, and the room had a twilight feel to it, with less light than usual light coming from the ceiling. I remained vigilant, but did not see movement. I decided not to risk entering. Yeah, don't do that. It was a long walk back to the intersection and the other corridor. I hoped we could find Castile soon, as I wanted to avoid spending eternity in the shimmering labyrinth. The other corridor was much shorter, leading to a room with a hilly meadow covered in grass and small flowers, maybe 70 feet across. A fat rabbit stared at me as I approached the room. Oh, here comes the bunnies. As I got closer, the rabbit darted into a burrow, and a massive bear appeared from over the mound, furiously digging in the soil, trying to reach the rabbit. The dark grey coat of the bear shifted with muscle as it dug, but it was not as large as the fire bear's. Taking a chance that it was the only creature in the room, I stepped in and removed its chest cavity while its back was turned to me. I paused just inside the room, listening for other creatures. The fat rabbit popped up on the hill to see what was happening. Its ears perked up in attention. It quickly ducked into another burrow. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be Monty Python rabbits. I moved farther into the room and spotted the stone chest, which made me relax. I was about to step toward it, but paused. Would the dungeon trick me with a war chest to make me lower my guard? I cautiously entered the room and noticed no fewer than 3 rabbits, poking their heads up. I shattered the stone chest and took out 8 silver coins, a potion of greater healing, and a potion of stamina. So far, every bear I had killed had rewarded me with a greater healing potion in this dungeon. Was this a coincidence, or would this continue? A greater dungeon healing potion was valuable. An alchemist's major healing potion was worth 50 gold, but had a shelf life. Dungeon potions had no such limitations from what I had been told. I thought it might be time to try milking the room for this healing potion, since the safe room was just a 10-minute walk away. I suspected this was a stone bear. The bear's hide was coarse and difficult to cut. I harvested some meat with an elven dagger claimed was from the armory. It was not Relia's, as I had told her I would not use it. Oh, he actually didn't. That's nice. I waited for enough ether to retrieve the collector, stacking up the best cuts as I went. I had learned a lot about harvesting game from Maviath, and I thought he would be proud of how much I had improved. I was not surprised when I harvested an apex strength essence. I was slightly disappointed though, as the apex essence probably meant no one from the company had reached this room yet. The rabbits watched me from a safe distance the entire time, their instincts telling them I was the new apex predator. Now he's the king. As I walked through the smaller chamber, I saw only grass, clovers, and small wildflowers for the rabbits' diet. I considered exploring further, but realized I had already been gone for almost 4 hours, by my estimation. So I stored everything in my dimensional space and returned to the safe room. Maybe it looked up as I returned and told Relia. Told you it was okay. Eric can take care of himself. Relia replied quickly. I was not worried. I was just asking if we should check on him. I ignored the exchange and told them what I found. The corridor forked. There's a simple meadow room with a stone bear. I produced 50 pounds of bear meat next to Relia's bed. Next to her. There were some quick rabbits in the room, but I couldn't catch any of them. Maybe we can get some with a bow. I did not enter the room at the end of the other fork. It had uneven rock terrain, and I didn't see any threats, so it could be an ambush predator. You kill a stone bear by yourself? Relia said, astonished, then added, Of course you did. As if it were not a big deal. Then, irritated, she moved her bedding to ensure the blood from the meat did not reach it. Okay, bye-bye for now. Don't let the phone die. Maybe it looked disappointed. Oh, is this all you harvested? I added the kidneys and liver to the pile, and he cheered up. Not that I would be eating either. Next, I handed Maviet the Apex Strength Essence. It's a Strength Essence, Maviet. Take it next. We're going to clear the null room again after the dungeon restocks it. Thank you. Relia's eyes watched the essence jealously, as it passed from my hand to Maviet, and then directly, then directly into his mouth. Why are we fighting the gnolls again? Her tone was challenging. Because I said so, I said, sitting down, relaxing near my bed. Maviet shot me a look to be nicer, so I added. Partly for the essences, but mostly because of the potatoes and the water from the stream. That explanation seemed to placate the Griffin Rider, calm her. Maybe I got 2 potions as well, a greater healing potion and a stamina potion. Keep them accessible, and you can give the elf one of the lesser healing potions. The elf? Maybe it already gave me back one of my healing potions. Maybe it! She said smugly. You were rewarded with a greater dungeon healing potion, Relia inquired, suddenly highly interested in moving closer. I frowned at Mavius, but I suppose it was his right to give the lesser healing potion to the elf. I just wished he had told me. Yes. So far, the reward chest in the dungeon for bears seemed to give a greater healing potion every time. I thought for a minute. This was the 5th time I'd killed a dungeon bear, and the reward chest had a greater healing potion each time. You have 5 greater dungeon healing potions. Those are worth 500 gold, Relia exclaimed. No, we've used all of them. No, that's the only one left. Maybe it got 1, Constantine got 1, and you got 2, I said, doing the math. Who the fuck is Constantine? You gave me 2 greater healing potions, she exclaimed in shock. Yeah, you looked like a dragon's shoe toy, and I only wanted to give you 1, but maybe it insisted you needed another to survive, I replied. If Mavieth was interested in the elf, the least I could do was make him look good. Relia was quiet for a moment before she whispered, Thank you. But I did not know if she was directing it at me or the Goliath. We returned to the gnoll chamber a half-day later to find the 8 gnolls restored. Relia was able to take out 6 in a single fireball, which made the room extremely easy. It was time to start squeezing the bears and gnolls for essences and loot. Loot! Oh! A boar. Pig. On bacon. Wow. Chapter 164. Bacon. I looked at the pile of essences in my hand from the gnolls. The essences had been reduced to 6 lesser essences and 2 major essences. Relia still could not believe that every gnoll yielded an essence. How is every knoll still producing essences? She asked for the third or fourth time. Shut the fuck up. I shrugged, but it was clear she was suspicious of me, or perhaps even the collector itself. Like I said, the dungeon has been undisturbed for a long time. Perhaps that has something to do with it, but I'm no dungeon expert. Here. I handed her the 2 major essences and 2 minor essences. Her eyes bulged, but she took them gratefully. I do not think she had taken many essences in her lifetime. I gave her 4 because she had been responsible for 6 of the gnolls this time. Don't get used to it. Your contribution to the fight determines what I give you. Wow. I had been slightly reluctant to give her the 4 essences, but she had done most of the work this time, so I recognized her efforts. The main reason for clearing the room was harvesting the potatoes. No. By the lot. Vitelotte potatoes. Not only did the potatoes taste good, but we also needed a variety in our diets. Not so much for me, as I could feel the ring of sustenance reducing my caloric needs every day. We worked as a team to process them as quickly as possible. The tubers appeared smaller but fresher, and they started to stack up. When we finished, I sent them to storage. Relia stood, announcing, I am filthy. Great, Relia, woo! I am going to bathe. Do not spy on me. Bitch, you spied on us. She eyed me before she walked off, but I had no intention of spying on her. Too bad we didn't catch any of the moles. I was curious what type of essences they might yield, I said, conversationally to Maviath, who was cooking. He seemed distracted while preparing dinner and did not respond, so I asked, How do you think the gnolls caught them? Probably dug with their claws, Maviath intoned, disinterested. We are out of onions and garlic, he stated morosely. To get back to the cockroach's room, we had to descend, and I was reluctant to do so. I don't think we'll be going back to that room. It would take us in the wrong direction. We need to find Castile. Maybe we'll find another chamber that has onions, I said optimistically. Bro, you come from not eating anything to like, I need onions or I will not eat. He didn't say that. He just said that they were out, which is completely, like, you should say that. But I'm like, we're not going back for onions, bitch. Not that I was a dungeon expert. It felt odd talking about the culinary shortcomings of a dungeon. Yeah. Relia returned. Her wet, dark hair matted to her very damp clothes, leaving little to the imagination. She carried her leather armor, which had puncture marks, and dropped it carelessly on the ground. She focused eagerly on the food Maviath was preparing, and I wondered how someone so small could eat so much. Relia looked up briefly, but did not stare, and I averted my eyes when I realized that I had been staring. Are we going to kill the stone bear next? She asked, stretching her arms over her head. I think she realized I was staring earlier, and was trying to draw my attention back to her. However, I had a stronger will than that. Dude, what the fuck is her game here? Yes, we will kill the bear. If it yields a greater healing potion, we'll clear that room 2 more times before moving on. If he likes me, he won't kill me. I moved to shatter the stone chest. I had left to see if Aurelia would break it without asking. She had not even mentioned it. The usual silver coins were inside, but there was no large sapphire on a silver chain this time. Instead, a modest brooch with hundreds of tiny red and clear stones in the form of a bird spreading his wings. I brought it back to the group and showed it to them. Maybe it nodded appreciatively, but Relia's eyes showed shock and longing for the brooch. Do you know what power this artifact has? Relia made eye contact with me, her deep blue-green eyes studying me. They were actually very lovely, if I was not worried about getting stabbed by her at the first opportunity. Not all items found in dungeons are artifacts, Legionnaire. I did not break eye contact with her, and she finally broke down and explained. She broke down. Okay, I'm sorry, I will explain. And explained to demonstrate her superior knowledge. I know it. It was once the crest of Kaelora's ruling family. Now it is a symbol of sedition and hubris to elves. Oh. She took a deep breath. But yes, it is an artifact. Though no elf would ever wear it openly. There is a reward for turning them into Essenhem to be destroyed. Oi. It turned the pretty piece of jewelry in my hand. But what does it do? I do not know. Some type of protection, I think. Or maybe awareness. I have seen it before on an exiled descendant of Kaelora's king. She thought for a moment. but it does not make sense for it to appear in a dungeon, unless it's true that a dungeon can recreate the items it absorbs. Maybe it had been listening and speculated. Maybe the elves of the city sought shelter in the dungeon when the Legion besieged the city. They were probably trapped and died down here. I nodded in agreement. That would explain the ranger's cloak if Kalora's crafters produced it. I made the brooch disappear, and Relia's eyes fell in disappointment. I thought maybe the brooch had given the wearer some influence over the elves, or more likely, Relia just liked jewelry. The stone bear room should be ready for us. I stood and led the two to the chamber with the bear. The bear was back, and I quickly dispatched it, while Maviot went right into processing it. If I had a bow, I could get the rabbits, Relia noted as the bunnies watched Maviot from a distance. I have a few bows, but no arrows, I stated absently. She just gawked for a minute, clearly wondering what else I might have secreted away before heading off to look at the small flowers. I was left alone to open the chest and was relieved to find silver coins and 2 potions, one each for healing and stamina. If we did meet with the company again, I was sure these healing potions would be sorely needed. Relia had a bouquet of small yellow and white flowers and was excited. These are sundrops and sugarweed. She used the elven names for the flowers, and I had to interpret her words before I understood. I also, once again got reminded that when we do meet the company, how the fuck are we gonna explain that, yeah, me and Maviot just fucking survived, you know? We're strong, right? I mean, yeah. If they weren't suspicious before, which they were, they will be even more so now, right? Are they good for anything? I was not familiar with either flower, but there might be a reference in elven books in the library. The sugarweed flowers can be dried and used as a sweetener in baking. They only bloom at the height of flower, but once dried, they last a long time. The sundrops, she indicated the yellow flowers, are found only in early spring and are used in alchemy. I'm not familiar with their uses, though I was told to pick them if I ever found them. You can pack out what you want. We get enough sweetness from the berries and apples. I want to keep my storage for bear meat and potatoes. Her face fell at my dismissal, but I was not going to add things to my space that we could not use. It was already getting crowded in there, and designating a space for killing creatures would become a problem if I filled it up. Maybe it was time to do some spring cleaning. I left the disappointed elf to cook while Mavitt expertly processed the bear. We returned to the safe room and repeated the knoll room after a day had passed. The knolls all yielded only minor essences, and I gave 4 to Maviot and 4 to the Griffin Rider. The reward chest contained silver coins and a pair of simple silver earrings, shaped like leaves. I had a gut feeling that the jewelry was not an artifact. When I channeled into it, it did not take my ether, and it felt like no spell form were buried in the metal workings. He will give it to her. It was still an incredibly detailed piece of art. I never let Relia see it, and she did not ask what was in the chest. Okay. After we harvested the potatoes, I announced, "This will be our last time fighting the gnolls. We'll kill the bear again and see if we can find stairs leading up to the first level." Relia tensed, realizing what that meant, but I doubted she wanted to spend an eternity in the dungeon. So, I mean, they are 30 people in the company. So you're telling me that no one made it into the 3rd or the 2nd level of the dungeon? Everyone made it into the 1st? Or did everyone who made it into the 2nd and 3rd die? Huh? Okay. If there's not a 4th, but it shouldn't be, because I guess, I don't know. Oh. Really tense, realizing what that meant, but I doubted she wanted to spend an eternity in the dungeon. We rested and ate in the safe room before clearing the bear room again. The bear gave a major strength essence, and the chest still yielded the greater healing and stamina potions along with the silver coins. We might have to return to the room again if we needed more potions. I would have liked to stockpile them, but I felt that time was not on our side. I did not know if anyone from the company lived, but they might be having a harder time than we were, so finding them was a priority. I told Maviet, just take the best cuts from the bear. My space is getting close to full. Maviet nodded, and I knew the liver and kidneys were going to be harvested, if nothing else. Relia's attention snapped to me. Huh? You're not as big as I thought you were. Was that innuendo? Was she trying to joke and insult me in the same sentence? Maybe it was some residual anger from not storing the flowers. Wow. I held my tongue rather than retort, and I think the elf was disappointed that I was not playing along. We had fought together for days, which naturally brought soldiers closer. I was still wary of the elf, but found her tolerable. Tolerable. We quickly checked on the room I had not entered. The chamber with the black and grey rock landscape. Relia identified the rock. That is cooled magma. I have flown into old volcanoes before. If something in there created it, I think we should avoid entering this room. We all stared for nearly an hour, seeing no movement. I decided. Okay, we're not entering if we can't identify the opponent. No one disagreed, and we returned to the bear room. I gave Maviet his bow and 3 remaining arrows. What? He just said he didn't have any. And he managed to skewer a rabbit as we passed through. I was excited to see what essences it might yield. Relia scoffed at my effort and said mockingly, That creature is too small, Legionnaire. Even I know it will not yield an essence. Maybe it had arrows. I probably should not have tried, but I wanted to prove Relia wrong, even if it revealed the utility of the collector. All 3 of us watched as the collector struggled to pull out the blue wisp from the creature, Relia's grin growing at the probable failure. It took longer than normal, but a minor essence formed. Relia had utter disbelief in her face, and maybe it just asked, What is it? I picked up the small spear and was confused. It was a pale red, not pink. It's a minor essence of fortitude, I said, perplexed. So far, every essence I had harvested or seen harvested had made sense. Fortitude was akin to mental endurance. Why did a rabbit yield it? Maybe its arrows are bigger than regular arrows. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I had forgotten about that. I'm going to keep it if that's okay, maybe. He had killed a rabbit, so it probably should have gone to him, but I wanted to fortify the attribute. It is your collector, Eric. As far as I'm concerned, all the essences are yours, Mavis replied with assurance. Relia panicked and objected strongly. Do not put those thoughts in his head, Mavis. I stopped the potential argument. I don't mind sharing, but I will decide who gets what. I stood and popped the mental fortitude essence into my mouth. My head felt cloudy for a few moments before clearing. Relia watched me intently, her eyes narrowing. I ordered us onward. Let's explore the next room. The corridor curved left and right, snaking for a while before we reached the entrance to the next room. The chamber was large and roughly dome-shaped. It looked like a rolling grassy field, but our sight line was obstructed by a hill near the corridor's entrance. A massive horse-sized black boar, bacon, with deep, slightly luminescent red eyes, were digging up the prairie grass on top of the hill. It grabbed a massive grub tangled in the roots of overturned grass. I let my first thought escape on seeing the boar. Bacon. Relia cautioned. That is not a pig. The boar noisily chewed the grub and turned to face us. Bestial red eyes focused on us. Maviet voiced concerned. It is a dire boar. Dire animals have been mutated by Ether. They are larger, stronger, and much more aggressive than their counterparts, Eric. He paused before adding, licking his lips. But yes, bacon. I do not know if we have enough salt to cure it. Relia. The dire boar grunted, calling over a second beast. Soon a second, third, and then a 4th dire boar arrived. 4 pairs of glowing red eyes stared straight at us. We definitely do not have enough salt, Mavis remarked. We needed a plan. 4 dire boars. Dire boars. Okay. Chapter 165. Familiar faces in strange places. Please let it be someone from the fucking company. The dire boars were huge, Their face reminded me of No, is it the fucking goblin? Nah. Nah. Because I joked earlier. It's either, because that's the only thing that it could be, right? It has to be someone from the company. But I'm not. I want to put it out there in case that I want to say that I thought of it. That it could be. There's a small chance of it being the goblin. I feel like it's still in here. Somehow. The dire boars were huge. Their size reminded me of American buffalo. That's huge, yes. Each of their off-white tusks was the size of my arm, and even with my armor, I figured getting gored would be painful if not deadly. One of the boars wandered closer to us. Relia studied the creature and informed us what she knew. The tusks may look dangerous, but it is the hooves you need to be wary of. Once they get you on the ground, they will trample you to death. Each boar looked to weigh over 1,000 pounds, and the thought of getting under their hoofs was horrible. So you fought these before? Relia flushed at being questioned about her knowledge. No. I was flying on Moonclaw over the seagrass plains and saw dire boars in action. I do not know what they were at the time, but my commander told me afterward. They chased down a pair of centaurs and trampled them to death. I have never seen a dire boar this close before. I assumed Moonclaw was her griffin, but she had never mentioned it before. So how do we kill 4? I asked my group. I think they charged mindlessly in a straight line, like a bull, maybe it offered after a short silence. Perhaps one of us could stand against a wall and trick it into running into it. Are you sure about that, baby? I asked uncertainly. Having been used as bait before, I did not like the idea. Maybe it nodded slowly. Dire animals are common on Stone Mountain Island. Their instincts are to attack recklessly. Dire bears have killed many of my people, he added, nodding to Aurelia. She voiced some concern. Their hide is thick, or so I imagine. My fireball would just burn away their hair and make them angrier. We waited to ensure there were only 4 creatures as we discussed strategies. 2 were large males, and the other 2 were younger males, about half the size. They were mostly concerned with eating grubs, but Relia spotted one that found a truffle and consumed it while keeping the others at bay from its prize. After over 2 hours of watching, I finally decided on a plan. They are aware of us but seem disinterested. All 3 of us will attack a single boar when it is separated from the others. Hopefully, the other 3 won't come at us together, and we can take down the second boar as a team. I will kill the third, and then we can all work together on the 4th. All 3 of us will attack a single boar. Relia cannot use spells. Will she be able to kill it with a dagger? As I spoke, I produced Relia's runic dagger. Okay. And held it out for her. Her eyes widened briefly before she took it from me, and her expression was unreadable at the trust I was extending to her. She spent a moment attaching it to her belt before advising. Do not run into the corridor if things go bad. Once we attack them, the creature will be free to pursue you if you leave the chamber. Dodging something that size will be impossible in the narrow corridor. We had gotten that answer from the shapeshifters, but we had not experienced it yet. Once you started fighting creatures in the dungeon room, the fight had to end with a victor. There was no retreat, as the creature could pursue you. Then maybe the goblin has not survived. That sounds... Because I didn't think about that. Because I was like, maybe he just ran from room. But then it's like, it would have ran after... But maybe they didn't care about goblins. I don't know. It was half an hour later when our opportunity arrived. Just 15 feet from us, one of the smaller boars was near and isolated. My heart raced and adrenaline surged as I led the charge into the room. My plan was to stab with my black blade behind the shoulder to reach the heart for a fatal blow. The boar turned too fast for me, and I only got a glancing slash, opening its hide on the shoulder. The cut felt as though I was cutting shoe leather with a steak knife, despite the enchanted blade. It squealed loudly, calling the others. My shield arm stung as its head whipped around, and its tusks smashed into me, forcing me to retreat a few steps. With its attention on me, maybe its hammer came down on its head, crushing its skull and causing the beast to collapse instantly. Maybe it is fucking crazy. Maybe its hammer was buried in the skull, and he needed a moment to extract it. I turned to look at the small hill as the thunder of hooves echoed ominously in the room. Where's Aurelia? Maeve asked. Shit, I did not see her. Had she ditched us now that she had 2 blades and thought she could escape the dungeon alone, but she has the cloak? I did not have time to worry. I braced myself for the first charging boar. It was one of the large ones. I layered 5 air shields in front of me and planned to roll to my right. She has not left them. There's no way. The good news was that the boars were spaced about 20 feet apart. Maeve towered behind me, weapon retrieved. We are dodging right, Maeve, I yelled as the boar thundered toward us. I dashed right, and Maeve dove. The boar suddenly jolted to a stop, destroying 4 of the 5 air shields on impact. I planted my foot and launched with the blade, achieving excellent penetration behind the shoulder. The stunned boar spun, ripping my embedded blade from my grip. Maeve's hammer came down on the back of its neck. I winced at the loud cracking sound on the spine, finishing the beast. We were not done, as the second large boar was too close, and I was forced to kill it with my dimensional space. Now brainless, its legs folded, and it skidded into the first boar. The final opponent was one of the smaller boars, weighing only 600 or 700 pounds by my estimation. The ground still rumbled as it charged. Relia suddenly stood up, whipping her camouflage cloak back to reveal herself, and leaped onto its back as it passed her. She squeezed the creature with her legs, preventing herself from being thrown off, and drove her dagger and short sword into the creature's back. The whole sequence took just a few heartbeats, but demonstrated incredible timing and skill. I reared and squealed at the sun in pain. So I was like, wait, what, Eric, why? It reared and squealed at the sudden pain. The boar smartly started to roll onto its back to crush its rider, and I worried for the elf. However, as the boar rolled, she gracefully dismounted and rolled to cushion her fall. She had left her 2 weapons buried in the creature, and it did itself no favors by rolling. When it righted itself, it had trouble walking with the blades lodged deep in its shoulder. Grunting in pain with every step, it moved spasmodically toward Aurelia. I took a moment to pull my black blade free, as it got jammed between the boar's ribs when the beast collapsed. Maybe it was already taunting the crippled creature, keeping its attention from the unarmed Aurelia, allowing me to flank it from behind and slash the tendon on the back leg. After that, it was easy for us to finish off the immobilized creature. Aurelia smiled as she went to retrieve her weapons. I, however, was not happy. That was not the plan, and you were hiding in the open. What if the boar trampled you? You did not tell us you were doing it. We thought you ran away. A shocked look came over her face at being yelled at. I think it was the first time I had truly shown anger at the elf. Her mind seemed to race, and guilt appeared in her features. But instead of defending herself or yelling back like I expected, she just squeaked out softly, "I'm sorry." Her response was so unexpected that I was caught off guard. I gave her my anger stare and waited for Maeve to intercede and defend her, but he did the opposite, reiterating my points. Relia, I'm disappointed in you too. The plan was clear. You should have voiced your intentions to us. Maeve's statement was like a slap to her, and she physically stumbled. Maeve had taken her side ever since I had released her. She stared at her feet, no longer able to make eye contact. Was she going to cry? Why was I feeling bad? I relaxed. You did look like a badass doing it, but if our partnership is going to work, we need to communicate better. I looked over the bloody boars, soaking the earth into a pasty red mud. Maybe a token punishment. Maybe Relia will help you harvest the boars. Make sure she does most of the work. I'm going to search the rest of the chamber. Wow. I mean, deserved. I walked away and heard Relia trying to understand what I said by asking Maeve, "How is my ass bad? It does not smell at all. I just bathed it." Oh my fucking, shut the fuck up. I chuckled to myself as Maeve tried to help her sort out my colloquialism. The ground was torn up around the chambers as the boars scavenged under the sod for grubs and truffles. The stone chest was near a small spring that fed a small pool on the far side of the hill. I shattered it and looked at the coins spread out in the grass. I was more excited about the silvery runic knife inside. The metal gleamed on the blade of the short, single-edged weapon. No, not a weapon, but a skinning knife. Maybe it was going to love this. There was only one exit from this room, so the choice of direction was easy. Rather than dig for grubs, I returned to the others while waiting for my other to recharge to retrieve the collector. With a grin, I handed the Goliath the knife. "Maybe try this out. It was in the reward chest. I presented him with the skinning knife. Maviet took the blade reverently while Relia looked on, her eyes clearly recognizing it as an artifice weapon. Maviet cut into the belly of the next boar, the skin parting without much effort, and the gray-skinned man smiled. This is remarkable. Thank you for letting me use it. Eric tries to line up the blow, but yeah, I understood, please. I understood. It's more like, I understood. It was more like that she doesn't understand, which I understand that she doesn't understand, but still, you know. No, Mavius, it's yours. As well as 2 of the essences from these creatures. We definitely wouldn't have won without you. It was a small jab at Relia's actions as well. She had abandoned us at the start of the attack, doing her own thing. The collector appeared in my hand, and I collected 2 apex constitution essences and 2 major constitution essences. 2 apex. I was like, did I read it wrong? Okay, 2 apex and 2 major constitution essences. I gave the 2 apex essences to Mavieth, while Relia watched jealously. I moved a distance away, pocketing the other 2 essences. I had not gotten used to the gamey smell of animals being harvested. Mavieth was joyously using the new knife, cutting away chunks rapidly and handing them to Relia, who could barely keep up with stacking the meat and organs. Relia was covered in blood and did not look happy. Should have thought of that before. 4 buffalo-sized boars gave a lot of meat. Mavieth asked for the other bag of salt, and he only cured 1 slab of belly fat, conserving our dwindling salt stores for cooking. He stacked the other slabs nearly 3 feet high. I sent them to storage so they would not spoil, but I doubted we would find more salt in a dungeon. I also had to temper Mavieth's excitement over his new tool. I added less than a quarter of what he harvested to my space. Mavieth, that's it. I do not have more free space. Mavieth pleaded. Eric, can I peel the intestines? Surely you have enough room to take the casings so we can make sausage in the future. How long did the Goliath think we were going to be trapped in the dungeon? Well, for a year! A year. I don't know how long it takes, though, to make that, but I acquiesced and made a small box with my hand. This big Mavieth. I need to have some space reserved for killing creatures, too. Mavieth eagerly started working on the intestines. He had to strip them, scrape them, and then turn them inside out and scrape them again, all while washing them thoroughly. He needed water for his work and fouled the only pool in the room. He had a dozen 6-foot sections when he was done. I guess the saying that you do not want to know how the sausage is made is true. We spent over half a day in the room before packing up and heading to the next one. The corridor was not long, and we were a bit surprised to find another safe room. But this safe room was special, as it had stairs ascending to presumably the first level at one end and a black, oily door at the other. It had been so long since we had seen a dungeon exit. Mavieth and I just stared at it in disbelief. Acquiesced. Really, I questioned, are we going to leave? I thought you said the city was full of specters. Yes, it is. We cannot leave, no matter how tempting it looks right now. We will certainly be killed. We need to find Castile first. I could not tell her there was also an elven summoner out there trying to kill us. She might risk running to seek his protection. Relia went to the elven script on the wall. It says dire boars ahead. Guess dungeon notes are not useful if you're going backward. She offered a weak smile at us before continuing to read the faded script. Mavieth asked curiously, does it say anything else? Nothing useful. The truffles the boars were eating are valuable, but other than that, it does not say much. Relia claimed one of the stone shelves and started unpacking her pack. Mavieth, what do you want to prepare for dinner? I asked while breaking my eyes from the tempting exit. I spent time getting his supplies, and then I went to scout the stairs. Relia jumped to her feet. I will come with you. I considered her for a moment. Stay with Mavieth. If there are legionnaires at the top of the steps, well, you can imagine. I stated neutrally. Frustrated, she said, just do not go in the room. It will seal you inside if it is the final room before a descent. Was Relia actually concerned for my safety? I paused but did not respond to the elf as I climbed the stairs. There was a lot of hope riding on each step I took. Was the rest of the company on the first level? Were they still alive? Was Castile among them? The stairs did not corkscrew as I climbed, but the wall had a long, slow curve. When the stairs ended, I was on a small landing with a large circular room beyond. The floor was packed green. The walls of the chamber had a thick green slime covering them, giving the entire room an eerie green light, but that was not what had caught my attention. A massive drake. Are you telling me? You're not telling me that the summoner went into the dungeon, that he sent a dragon into the dungeon. There's no way, right? This is just a dungeon drake, right? It has to be. It has to be. A massive drake circled restlessly in the center of the room, its powerful body rippling with hidden muscle. The drake's dark mahogany brown scales glistened under the flickering light, and his lack of wings marked it as an earth drake, an imposing creature I had recognized from the pages of the bestiary. Yet it loomed much larger than a typical member of its species, creating a daunting presence that filled the vast space. As I scanned the chamber, a flash of crimson caught my attention on the far side, where a legionnaire who had been seated in quiet observation had now risen to his feet. The chamber stretched over 200 feet in length, an expanse that made it difficult for me to discern its features. Wait. On the far side, in the room, or on the other side, like at the other corridor. So it's not in the room; he's outside the room. Okay. In a moment of resolve, I lifted my head. Wait. The chamber stretched over 200 feet in length, an expanse that made it difficult for me to discern his features. In a moment of resolve, I lifted my helm to reveal my face, revealing myself. He met my gesture by removing his own helm, and for a brief instant our eyes locked in mutual recognition. Who is it? No! No! I need to know! Oh my god, I don't know! Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Oh my god, it's a friend! Oh, who is it? Why is he alone? Is it Brutus? Oh. Because if it's just one, then it could be Brutus and he's left Fabian somewhere in a safe room or some shit for now. Or it means that someone has died from this person's group. Or it means, just like Eric, he is just scouting and the others are fine. But I doubt that anyone that isn't Eric or Constantine, I mean, oh my god, what a cliffhanger. Holy shit, the person Alicia. Or, dude, just to have it said, imagine, dude, if it is the goblin in legionnaire armor. Imagine it's not. It can't be. But I would die if it would. Oh, because the other only person that isn't the legionnaire that would be in here is the summoner, and he wouldn't put on legionnaire armor. Like, the goblin would, but no, he wouldn't. Like, what the fuck? It's the longest stretch ever. It's just a legionnaire. It's someone from the company. Here we fucking go. I cannot wait. But we will see who it is next time. My fucking god. I am so excited. Oh, we will see tomorrow. Yee! Okay. Thank you so much for coming to the reading. We will now end the stream here. Like so. I will save this. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Wawas. And then I have to move on with the day. Thank you so much for joining the stream. It was very fun. It went by pretty fucking fast, I must say. But I don't have time to read another 5 chapters, and starting to play something is a bit... Yeah, it wouldn't go for too long anyway. I'm very excited. We did the reading. I'm happy with this. Anyway, and tomorrow we will continue. We will see who it fucking is. But in the meantime, feel free to go and follow me on all my socials. Smooses everywhere. Join the Discord. Have a nice rest of your day, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Hey, bye bye.